Hello and welcome. Looks like we're live. So, hello to all you Rainbow Warriors and happy 11/11. So, today's tapestry, I'm going to do the number 11/11. As I sat in meditation, that's what came to me. So, I decided, what the heck, I'm doing all the numbers and letters in the alphabet anyway. So, let's do 11/11 on 11/11. So let's first do a quick shout out. Let's see who we have in the house today. We have Michelle and Tie-Dye Dog, Jewel, Dragon Tears of Love, Deja Vu, Tie-Dyed One, Flower Child, Mom's in the house. Hi, Mom. Nice to see you. Let's see. Melanie. Okay, so we got a group. We got more people joining in. Let's do our little gratitude. So I know last week we didn't have a live stream that got messed up, but hopefully you guys were able to get back in. I did shoot a video and I uploaded it, and I do have the tapestry, the DNA V or circle DNA V. Anyways, and then also I tried to do the stories thing on YouTube to auction off the tapestry from the week before, but I have no idea where those show up. So the stories thing didn't work. So right now I have two tapestries. So, oh, and as I'm mentioning new members here, in the last week we had Mary and Willie sign up, and just now Paula. So welcome Paula and the rest of the new members to my channel. I appreciate the support. Okay, well let's go ahead and just jump right in. Let me move this back just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is do an ice dye on the number 11/11. So I have a tapestry. This one here is one of the smaller ones from Sunshine Joy. I believe the total dimensions is like 46 inches wide by 35 inches tall. So what I did was I just folded this in half, and then I drew my two dots for the middle part of the 11/11, and then I drew two ones on here. And what I'm going to do is get these tied up. The tapestry has been, actually this one here, I washed it, dried it, and then I just lightly sprayed it with a little bit of soda ash. I wanted it to just be barely damp since I'm doing an ice dye on this. But also I have soda ash in my things here. So anyways, we're starting with it just very slightly barely damp, and it's folded in half here. So what I'm going to do to start with is tie up these two circles, and then I'm going to tie up the ones here. The way that I do the letters and numbers, so far I have an O video out and I have a Q video out. The O is one that I was able to just fold up normally. The Q is one that I had to do the raised pleat. And that's this one here. I could probably get away with doing the regular way and just skip the little angle here on the ones. But we're going to tie this up in the raised pleat fashion. And the way that I do a raised pleat is I go ahead and I pinch that. Well, let me slide over so that you guys can see. I guess I was out of my purview here. So I raise the line up so I can fold it, and I usually use these clips just to kind of hold them in place. So I'm going to just put a few of these clips on. So really I'm just lifting the line that I drew up, and then I'm clipping it, and then what we're going to do is pleat that up and then tie it off with sinew. So we'll raise up the other one here the same fashion. And the only tricky part is these corners here, and usually I'll show that when I get to it, but really just a matter of just kind of folding just a little bit of a pleat down in there to separate those. But we'll do that here in a minute. Let me finish getting these on here. And since I'm doing this here is double, because like I said, I folded it over, rather than tying up 4 of the ones, I'm tying up just 2 of them. So I'm doing them on the front and the back. So that's one thing, when you raise your pleat up, you want to make sure that if you're doing it on the front and the back, that you get both of those within your folds here. So, okay, so what I'm going to do to start with is fold up these little pleats down here. So I'm just going to just do a regular accordion fold on these. I don't need to raise these ones up since they're folded in half already. But what I can do is fold them together. So rather than tying off two little tiny folds like that, I can turn around. I folded the one of them in there, and now I'm just going to take the other one and just start it right there. So I just lined up this line just in even with these ones over here. So I'm just going to go ahead and start pleating just like I normally would. And really what this is doing is just tying these two together just to save a little bit on the wrapping of the sinew. Plus it's easier to wrap the sinew on a bigger pleat than the tiny little ones. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, so there's the two little dots for the center of the 1111. So I'm going to fish out my sinew. And for this one here, I went ahead and tied just a little slip knot. Sometimes when I'm doing little ones like this here, it's easier to start out the tie with a slip knot on there. So I'm just going to line that up right here where I folded my line at. Wrap it around a couple times, and then I pull it tight. Wrap it a few more times and pull it tight. Okay, now this first little leg, I can cut that one off. That was part of my slip knot. The second one, I always cut those a little bit longer, and then I tie a little slip knot, or a little knot in the end of this. It just makes unraveling things easier when you're working with sinew and you have wet hands. It's easier to grab that knot. Okay, so now I'm going to fold the ones up, and I'm going to go ahead and start with this one here. So I'm going to pull these clips off, and like I say, what I'm going to do is line this up, and I'm just kind of tucking everything that isn't this line, I'm tucking it down. So in this corner here, I'm just kind of tucking that down and laying these two lines that I drew right next to each other there. And then at the end of this line, I'm going to fold that down. I folded it about at just a 90-degree angle, just folded it straight down here. So that way when I tie my line on here, the line is going to get tied right there, so this here part of the one is still going to be included in there. So then from here, I'm just going to do an accordion fold, and I'm just folding it, like I say, it's a raised pleat or an accordion fold, and I'm just going to fold it back and forth here. And like I say, this here is the end of my little flag on the top of my one, so that's folded down. So now the rest of this one, I'm just going to fold it back and forth. And you'll know that you're doing it right if you can see this line that you drew up on the top of your pleats here. That's where you want it. And really, I try to just level these as much as possible so that when I tie my sinew around there, it's going to just give a little bit of thickness to the one. It's not going to be just a little skinny line. Oh yes, and if you're asking questions later on after I'm done with the dyeing portion here, I will be answering questions. So Julie is taking note of those and sending them to me. But to make it easier for her to find those questions, if you could type it, if you're typing it to me for me to answer, then please type it in all caps. That just makes it easier for her to locate the questions. But if you're just chatting within the chat room, you can chat just normal and you guys can ask each other questions. I always like to see it when you guys are kind of helping each other out and answering questions. But I will do some Q&As after I'm done with all of this. Okay, so I'm just about done here. So I still got this last little bit of the one, and I'm just going to go ahead and just wrap it. Well, No, I had a trouble. I did the Q that way and I wrapped it too many times. So I'm going to maybe just fold this back and forth normal. So I got to the end of my run here. So now I'm just going to fold this down at an angle. And like I say, this here was the other part that was folded down. So I have my one all within that little bunch there. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to take my sinew. In fact, I think I'm going to tie a slip knot just to make sure I hold everything in place as I tighten it. So now as I come down, I'm going down maybe about an inch on here. And what that's going to do is incorporate a little bit of the fabric here and then this one that I tied up here on top. So all of this here, there's going to be a line around there, and then of course where I ended the run, I folded this line down so the one will end there at the bottom. And like I say, for all of the letters, the process is going to be about the same, but some of the letters are trickier than others, like the Q is one of them. So, and I think the next, let's see, I have an A, a W, and an S that are coming up that I've had requests for. So, and like I say, each letter is going to be its own challenge, and I'm just going to keep on kind of playing with all the different letters of the alphabet. Okay, so this little short tail, I'm going to just cut that one off. That's from the slip knot. And then this last one, I'm going to pull that tight, cut it off, and then tie my little knot in there. Okay, so now for the last one over here, like I say, we're just going to do that up the same way. And I just find it easier to start on this side over here, or the top of it, and just fold this down into a little boat shape here at an angle. Take these off. And then like I say, this here is the little flag. This part here, once again, I'm just folding that down so that I can fold this back and forth. And it is important to make sure, since I'm doing multiple layers here, you know, the two sides. Sometimes when I'm doing a t-shirt, I'm just pulling just the front up, but this here has two sides. So I'm making sure as I'm doing my folds that I'm not losing that. And that's another reason for putting these clips on there. It does help make sure you hold all of that fabric in the place where it needs to be here. And then it's just a matter of trying to keep this as level as possible. The letters or numbers aren't perfect with this folding technique. So if you want more detailed, or if you want a specific font of a letter, then I recommend stitching them. I've done that in the past. I don't have any videos specifically for stitching videos, but for stitching letters. But the same process would work. So you could watch my stitching video and then stitch a specific font of a letter if you want. But if you just need the letters themselves, this is a fun way to do it. And it just takes time to sit down and do these raised pleats and just practice with them. But then you can kind of draw the letters on however you like. You could even draw the letters on a little bit funkier than what I did, and then have fun folding them. But even if you've watched the Q video, you can see that I didn't get a nice even Q. The letter, you know, is misshaped just a little bit, but I think that just kind of adds the fun of it. Okay, I finished folding that one in. So, and I folded at the end. I just folded that down. So now we're going to tie another little slip knot. And let's see. Oh, I can see that H and R, definitely. Yes, I will be getting to all of the letters, and I'll just, as people make requests, I'm just going to make a list and just start ticking them off. So, okay. that was something that I'd hoped to have done this summer, but life kind of got busy this summer and I just didn't get to making as many of the videos as I thought I would. But I'm going to just keep on doing them, and hopefully I'm going to keep on doing this Wednesday show. I've had a few different things come up and interfere with the show, and sometimes that tells me that maybe I need to make a change. But at this point, I still plan on continuing the Wednesday show, and then I will keep you guys updated if that changes. But if that does change, it'll probably mean that I'm just going to try to do more recorded videos and get them loaded up. So that's the possibility too, that if I stop the Wednesday show, it'll just mean that I do more videos and just upload them rather than do them live. So, but I know you guys like these live videos, and the chats are always a lot of fun. I don't have time to read too much during the video because I'm focused on what I'm doing. But I do see some of your guys' comments, and then afterwards I usually go through and will read the conversations that have gone on. That's always kind of fun. Okay, so now I have my two letters, or my two numbers tied up, and really when it's unfolded it's going to be 4 numbers. And then I have my 2 dots here in the middle. So the rest of this I'm going to just scrunch it up. I usually like to kind of pull out as much of this fabric as I can. Just make sure, well, I mean, if you've tied the sinew tight enough, you're not going to pull it out of here. But if you're not tying it with sinew, then you might want to make sure you don't pull when I'm straightening this out. I'm kind of pulling kind of hard, but you want to make sure you don't pull that out if you've used just something like kite string. But I like the sinew because it does leave a white line and it's more distinctive. So anyway, that's my personal preference, and I know everybody has their own preferences on how they like to do things. So you can either use my methods or you can adapt my methods and make them your methods. The main thing is just the learning. I'd love to help people learn how to do this art. Let's see, I need some tight string. I know I got some around here someplace. Oh, and I kind of rearranged everything. I don't know. Yeah, you guys can see a little bit. I have a little mini fridge that my mom bought me. She heard me talking and bought me an early Christmas present. So all of my dyes now are stored in this little mini fridge over here. So I've rearranged my whole space. So this is really my first time at sitting down and doing tie-dye at my table after I've rearranged everything. And I'll probably rearrange it 3 or 4 more times before I'm done, but for now I think I got it just how I want it. Okay, so we about got this scrunched up. And then, like I say, I'm going to do an ice dye in the muck with this. We're going to do it in a couple shades of purple. I got a little bit of amethyst and blue violet. Both of them are mixed 1-to-1 with soda ash. And like I say, there is just a little bit of soda ash that I sprayed on here. But I took this right out of the dryer after I did a pre-wash on it. And then I just lightly sprayed it with soda ash. So there's not a whole lot, just enough to get it damp. So that's why these here have soda ash mixed in with them. So that will provide the soda ash that I need. All right. And with the kite string, I'm just trying to tie and just get as much of this tucked in as possible. But really there's no specific method of tying with kite string. The main thing I do is when I'm wrapping this underneath is I will hold this down with my finger here so I can slide this around and go right underneath. But I just wrap it as many times as it takes to make it look like I have it tied up nice and neat. And everything is held in place. Okay. I think that will be good. So let's get this tied and we'll start sprinkling some dye on this thing. Okay. Okay, and now I'm going to use a little bit of tin foil to just kind of hold the ice. I'm going to wrap it around here. You can use whatever you like for a barrier. Some people use cardboard. I've seen people use the blinds, the big long skinny blinds that hang down, and that works great for doing the ice dyes, but really all you're doing is just trying to build up a little bit of a wall so that the ice stays on there. And I like to leave just a little bit of a space underneath here. I kind of crinkle the tin foil up around it, but I like to be able to pick it up and look at the bottom most times if I'm not dyeing in the muck. This time I am, but I still usually will leave that little bit of a gap on the bottom. Alright. And the other main thing is just making sure that when you wrap this up, that you have access to all of your areas where you're putting dye. I'm going to put a little bit of dye directly on this, and then the rest of the dye is going over top of the ice. So I have this fashioned in such a way that I have access to the two little dots here and to the two ones. So I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of amethyst directly onto those. And then I'm going to put ice on top of this. I just want to build this wall up a little bit more here. I'm going to put ice on top and set this down in a bucket. Yeah, this one will do. So let me make sure you guys can still see here. Okay. So I'm going to put my mask on. I happen to have one of these with these side filters. These are the best kind of masks to get. I know right now they're not easy to find, but any kind of a mask is going to definitely be helpful. You don't want the fine little particles of the dye getting up into your nose. So if you're working with the dyes, please, or the powdered dyes, please wear a mask of some sort with them. Okay, so there is the dye. Like I say, I put it just on top of my two ones and the little dots here. And the next thing I'm going to do is put ice on top, and then I'm going to sprinkle over top with the blue violet. And then once I get done with this, I'm going to jump in. We have actually two auctions. I think I mentioned that at the beginning, but due to not being able to do a live video last week, I didn't have an auction for the other video yet, or the other tapestry from the week before. Okay, now I'm going to kind of put this ice on a little gingerly. I don't want to knock this dye off of here. So I'm just going to kind of put a couple pieces in and around there before I start pouring this on. Okay, and now I can kind of put some ice over top of the ones and the dots, and then I can pour more ice on top. And I'll probably end up coming back and adding more ice to this later. But for now, that will do us. So now I'm going to put my mask back on. And then this here is the blue violet. And both of these were mixed 1-to-1 with soda ash. All right, let's get this set out of the way. We'll check back in on this at the end of the video just to see how much is melted, but for now we'll set it aside. Spilled some ice just in case there's not any powdered dye around. Okay, so the first tapestry will be the one from the week before. This here is the Triskelion, the triple spiral. So, and if you need to see both of the tapestries, the full tapestries, you can click on this launch links here. And there's a picture, you'll see the albums for that, but you can see both of the tapestries that are up for auction today. And this one here, like I say, is the triple spiral. They're coming out of the center and spiraling around. We got 1, 2, 3 spirals. So this one here is officially up for auction, so you guys can place your bids just in the chat room, and I'll keep an eye on them and close them as they finish up here. Let me take a quick peek just to see if somebody did an early bid. I don't see one. Okay, so this here is up for auction, and now I'm going to start answering some questions. So Julie has got a list for me over here. So let me just jump in here. So somebody asked, what is he making? I think you might have figured that out by now. Somebody might have told you, but I will answer. I was doing the 1111, so basically 2 numbers and the 2 little dots in the middle. So that's what I was tie-dyeing there. What are the benefits of becoming a member? The benefits are just you're helping support my channel. I don't have any extra videos that I do because I already do so many videos and I have them all out for free. So you have virtual hugs, you got eternal gratitude, but you also have the ability to do tie-dye through, I think I have over 300 videos that I've uploaded. Although there's a bunch of those that are reveal videos. I probably have at least 200 teaching videos. So the benefits really are that you get to help support this channel so that I can continue to make videos. So those are the benefits. Yep, double auction. Let's see here if we got an opening bid yet. No opening bid. So my guess is that maybe, and you guys can tell me if I've kind of run through the auctions. I know I only have so big of a crowd that comes in here on a regular basis. So if you guys are pretty much tapestried out, I can cut the auction part out here on YouTube and move them over to Facebook. Way back in the beginning, that was my intention, but somebody had asked about me doing being able to bid on them here on YouTube, so I started doing the auctions, and it's gone over really great. But if you guys are done with these, I can stick to just doing the tie-dye and then move right into the questions. So I'm going to move back over, check out some more questions, and I'll check back and see if we have any bids. But if we don't have any bids, maybe I'll break out the other one and see if that one is good. So maybe I'll leave this open for just another few minutes. I'll answer a couple more questions. If I get no more bids on this, or no bids at all, I will go ahead and close this one and go to the other one. So how about that?
And asking, what does the other one look
like? Oh. Okay, the other one. I'll break it out. That way you can determine whether you want to bid on which one you want to bid on. This here is the one that I tied it up in a circle shape, and then I dyed it in a V shape within the circle and did DNA, so it shifted my colors. So I got this really nice circle, but I got all these colors that are darting back and forth with this DNA action going on here. And then the outer edge has this light turquoise and black all the way around it. So it looks like a big O, a rainbow O. So, like I say, I'm going to leave the other one up for a few more minutes, and if I get no bids, I will go ahead and switch over. And the minimum bid, I usually ask people to open them up at 30 and then start from there. These tapestries, I normally, if I'm going to put them in my album for sale, this size here usually starts at 75. So I figured a $30 opening bid is not too bad. Okay, let me take a peek and see if anybody placed a bid on the Triskelion. Okay, I don't see any opening bids. So I'm going to go answer one question, and then I'm going to switch over to the other tapestry. So let's see. Won't the ones on the back be... Oh. Yes, you are correct. See, originally when I drew the ones, I just drew the sticks. I didn't draw the angle thing. That's when I was making my plan. And then at some point I thought, oh, what the heck, let me put those on. But yes, when I open that up, the ones are going to, the little flags are going to point towards each other. So I should have tied up each one individually. So, yep, I didn't even think about that. Okay. And yep, I don't see no bids on this, so we're just going to close this one out and we'll just put it someplace else. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the bidding on this one. So if you would like to get in on the DNA circle tapestry, this one here, then the bidding is now open on this one. And I'll go ahead and go over and answer some more questions and see if you guys have any more and any bids. Anybody wants to bid on it? And if not, then we'll probably just close this up early, and I might phase out the auction part until I get requests for it again. Let's see, doesn't it get harder to keep adding folds when you're doing a shirt? I find it hard after adding so many. If you're talking about the raised pleats, yes, that's why sometimes after I have pleated so far, I will go ahead and wrap that just a little bit. The main thing is not to wrap it too many times, because when I did that on the queue, that center spot, which was the little line on the queue, it didn't get saturation. If you've seen the t-shirt, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's a big white spot. So the main thing that when you're wrapping and you get too many to hold in your hand with the t-shirt of the raised pleats like this, is to then turn around and just do a wrap around like this here, and then you can maybe pleat the other direction going out this way. The main thing is that you don't want this here to be too thick, so you don't want to just keep wrapping it up. That's what I did with the queue, is I wrapped it up too much, and then I had too many layers to get all the way in there. So I hope that was what you were asking about. Yeah, I know the t-shirt is a little bit thicker than the tapestry fabric, but it can be done. Okay, let me pop back over to the video and see what we have going on. Let's see. Oh, I do see, as I'm scrolling through here, somebody, Carrie, asked, do you get your tapestries from Dharma? And, oh, and Dragon Tears of Love answered that I get them from Sunshine Joy. That's where I buy most often, is from Sunshine Joy. They have several different sizes. During this last several months, they've kind of gone out of stock and back in stock and out of stock. So the main thing is to just keep checking back. You can also send them, I think, send them a message, and they'll let you know when things are in stock. Sometimes they have a pre-order only, and that's another way where you can pre-order, and then when they come in stock, then you're at the top of the list. But yes, I love these Sunshine Joy tapestries. They all come hemmed on the two edges, a nice salvage edge on on two sides, and then they always have the loops for hanging in all four corners. So, and they dye up beautifully. Let's see. Okay, and I don't see any bids on this one either. Yeah, I think I've auctioned you guys out. So that's no big deal. I will go ahead and leave this one up just in case, but I think I'm just going to stick to answering questions, and we'll see how things go from there. So let me pop over here. From Saucy, will there be a poppy? I can add that to my list and see if that's something that I can fold. So I'll look into that. The queue was good. What do you think was just off Adam's character? Oh, thank you. Yes. Yeah, it was a custom order, and I told the guy that I could make him a new one, and he said no, that he would buy that one, but he went ahead and ordered a second tee. So I'm going to make another one of those for him. So yes, just because it had white in it doesn't mean that I don't mean that it was bad. It just wasn't the way that I intended it. So, but yes, I do think it adds character. Let's see, from Robert, I request a wig wag on a t-shirt video. I can't get it right. Okay, yes, I did that other one on a tapestry, and I know that's just a little bit different. So I will add the wig wag back onto my list and do a t-shirt for that one. Can hardly wait for you to do hot water irrigation dyeing. Yes, I'll probably play with that one for a while. I don't know if I'll jump right into making a video. I know Justin Biffer has made a couple videos on that technique, and I know that Kurt Wallace, who, as far as I am aware, he's the one that developed the technique, or the first one that I seen doing that, and he's got some videos out there. So if I get to a point where I'm ready to share a video, then I will, but for now I'm just going to kind of play with it. Okay, let me check back in with the room just in case. Can I bid but pay Friday? Yes. Yeah, that would be perfectly fine. That's Chelsea. Let me check to see if there's Any other bids? Oh, it looks like you asked the question a couple times. I apologize. I don't always see them as I jump back and forth. But yes, paying on Friday would be just fine. So you can go ahead and bid now and pay later. All right, let me jump back into some questions. Carl, you changed your soda ash ratio to 1:1. Reason for that? Just another dyer. I usually try to ask other people, you know, when I'm not too positive about how to do something, and the hot water irrigation is one of them that I'm new to. And also the ice dyeing, I knew other dyers. So let me see here. How can I answer this? One dyer told me one ratio, and I tried that out, and that worked great. Another dyer told me this other ratio, which I was feeling like I wanted more soda ash and, to the dye in there. So I made the change, and that worked out perfect. And I'll probably even go even further. As I hear more and more dyers that do the dye mixing in their powder, I like to kind of try it out for myself to see how that works. So for me, whenever you see me making these changes, it's just my own experiment. It's not me putting out that this is the best way to do it. I'm just letting you know what I'm doing so you guys can try it yourself. But really, it's just other dyers' experience that I'm going off of and trying it out. And at some point, if I settle in on the one that I like the best, then I'll put that out there. Okay, so let me check back here. So we got a $30 bid from Chelsea. So thank you for that. Let's see. Oh, I have never bid before. How do I do payment? You can do through PayPal. What I usually do, I either have you pay directly from like my donation link. I can put a thing up to that, or at the time that you're ready to pay, you can send me your email address and I will send you an invoice. But if you need to pay, let me see here. Yeah, I don't see any more. So okay, so right now we have a $30 bid, opening bid from Chelsea on the circle tapestry. And I'm going to go back and answer some more questions here. Let's see. Do you get your tapestries from Dharma? Okay, I already answered that one. I happened to see it. Sunshine Joy. In the past, I did buy fabric from Dharma when I was cutting my own tapestry blanks. But now I buy most of them from Dharma. I've also bought some from Bo Dorsey. He's a tie-dye artist, and he also sews his own tapestry blanks, and he uses, or at least the ones that I bought, were a blend of hemp and organic cotton, and they dyed up beautifully. So Bo Dorsey is another person you can check with in case Sunshine Joy is out of stock. Okay. Let me copy this. So Chelsea, you were asking how to send your email to me. Here's my launch links. If you click on there and then scroll down to the bottom, you'll find how to send it through my store. You can send it through my Facebook, and yeah, 2 different pages on Facebook and through my store, which will come through my email. So you can just send me a message through one of those with your email on it if you are the winner. And so right now I still see just a $30 opening bid on the tie-dye circle DNA V. I don't even know what to call it. Let's see, I'm starting to use the sinew and I keep getting the dye absorbing into or jumping over the sinew. Is this normal, or do you have a specific brand of sinew you prefer? I know I still have dye that jumps over my lines, but there are some dyers that they have practiced and they have their tying down perfect. I buy mine in the 300-yard rolls. I get mine from Dixie Gunworks. Let me type that in so that you guys know. In fact, I might be able to call that up right now and find a link. Yeah. Okay, this here is the sinew that I buy. And like I say, it's a matter of, I think when you're applying your dyes, using the smaller tip bottles is going to help you keep it, and you got to make sure you just kind of drip on enough so it soaks in. If you put the dye on too fast, then it can run over the lines. For me, I don't worry about that too much. If it runs over the line, I take that as the universe assisting me in my dyes. But yeah, if you want to practice with that, it's just a matter of taking time, and you can even maybe look at some other tie-dyers and see if maybe some of the other ones. I know on my channel I have a list of probably 9 other tie-dye channels that I know about just from hearing other people. I don't watch tie-dye videos, but I've heard other people mention the other people. So on my channel there is a list over there. I don't know where, but it's on my channel someplace. If you are looking at my videos, you should be able to find a link to other tie-dye artists' channels. And maybe somebody else has a tip for keeping their sinew and their dye all in lines and stuff. I'm pretty open and free. I just let it flow. Okay, let me see here. I don't see any other bids going on. I still see just... What?
That was it.
Okay. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and close this one out then at $30, just so we're done with that, and then I will answer the last bits of the questions. So we have $30 on this one going one time. $30 on this one going 2 times. Okay, I don't see any more bids, so $30 going 3 times. And if somebody does bid, then I would just leave this open, but I think I've auctioned you guys out. Okay, Chelsea, you are the winner of this tapestry for $30. And then the shipping on that in the US is $7. So the total for this would be $37. And like I say, you can just send me your email address and I can send you out an invoice and you can pay that on Friday. So you are good to go. You're the winner of the tapestry. Yes, Chelsea, you won. Okay. Oh, I think that was just Julie congratulating you on the winning. So, okay, let me answer some more questions here, and then I think we're going to close this up. Ice sticking to the fingers while trying to place it for ice dyes can mess up dye placement and sucks. Do you have any suggestions? No, that one is tricky. Sometimes I'm able to get in there. Mostly, I think if you can get in there with dry hands, that's going to be the thing. But yeah, as soon as your hands are a little bit wet, then the ice does stick. And I've had it happen where I can get in there and get my ice placed before it starts sticking, and then other times not. And it just is what it is. I don't have any secret tricks on that. So Okay. Let's see. And hi, Danya. I see you, but please don't do this in the chat room. If it gets too intrusive, then I'll have to put you on a timeout or something. But if you have a question, you can go ahead and ask your question. But please don't take up all of that space like that. Let's see. Have you done a rose flower? Yes, as far as folding a rose, I did just a very basic rose. It didn't have like the petal detail in it, but I did do a tapestry of a rose, and I did a giant rose about this big, and then the stem was long. It was, I think, about an 8-foot tapestry, and that one I stitched. But as far as folding it, the rose was just a kind of a basic flower shape. It wasn't anything too special, and then I put a stem with a couple leaves on it. And I other than doing that type of a flower, the detail in the rose is too much to just do a folded die. So I would recommend, if you want a rose, that you do a stitch die. Doesn't ice dyeing use a lot more dye per shirt? That I don't know. I've heard these conversations go back and forth, and really, to me, it's about how I want the shirt to turn out over how much dye I use. So if I do use a little extra dye, I'm fine with that, because I like the results that I get. But I can't speak to that. You might go over to one of the ice dyeing pages on Facebook. They've had, I'm sure, quite a few conversations about whether the ice dye uses more powder or not. I don't know, but I like doing the ice dye, so I'm going to play with it more. So do you get a puddle too? Carl never seems to have one. I'm not sure what that question is. Oh, the muck. Yeah, I am intentionally getting a puddle because I'm dyeing it in the muck. I haven't formed a puddle under here yet, but eventually all the dye is going to soak through, and this will be floating in the muck. The other way of doing an ice dye is to put it onto a rack. So if I don't want to dye in the muck, I will dye, and I use this rack that has about a 1-inch lip on it, and that way it keeps the tapestry or the t-shirt up out of the muck. But I like to play with it both ways, and on that one I'm wanting to get really nice saturation. And as far as all of my color, I tied it with the sinew, and that's where I'm getting the detail that I want. It's not coming from the colors I put on. That's why I did most of the dye over top of the ice. But I'm still fairly new at the ice dyeing, so really I'm considering these as experiments than anything else, and you guys are just seeing what I'm doing and learning through my experience. But as far as doing it professionally, like I say, I've done tens of thousands of liquid dyes, but I've probably done less than 1,000 ice dyes. So that's why I say I'm still new. Is urea needed for Procyon dyes? I bought everything except for urea. No, urea is not a requirement. It is something that you can add that will help you mix more powder into your dyes, and it also keeps your t-shirts moist while they batch. But it's not required. You can mix just the dye powder and into water, and then put it onto your shirts, as long as the shirts have been soaked in soda ash. So the Procyon dyes, they need cotton, they need soda ash, and then time and heat. I batch, excuse me, I batch mine at a temperature of at least 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and then I like to add heat to mine. So in the summertime, I will take these tubs, which they come with a lid, and I will stack them out in the sunshine, and in the wintertime I will stack them next to a heater vent so that I have heat added in there. And that's really all that's needed to get, and you don't even have to have heat. As long as you can get up to about 70 degrees, that's about all you actually need for the tie-dye. So cotton, soda ash, dye, water, and time. Okay, I was actually asking about dyeing puddles, not, oh, regular dyeing puddle, not ice dyeing. Okay, yes, with regular dyeing, I do have that happen sometimes. It's a matter of slowing down how fast you add the dye. So if you're using these bigger dye bottles here, sometimes the dye will come out faster. If you're doing detail work and you need to not create a puddle, then getting some of these dye bottles that have these little fine metal tips on them. I bought these through Amazon, and the metal tips make you be able to apply just small amounts of dye at a time. And I can put a link to these bottles in the chat room. If you use the link that I put in here to make a purchase, then I get credit for the dye bottles, and Amazon kicks me back something. So there's a link to the bottles, and then also a link to how I fill those dye bottles. So yes, I do get the puddling if I'm adding my dye too quickly. So it's a matter of slowing down how fast you add the dye and let it soak in. The other thing that I will do sometimes is use my cuticle pusher. So if I have my shirt all tied up and I've added some dye there, you can press on that with a cuticle pusher, and that will help the dye soak in sometimes faster. So if you have something that's really kind of wadded up tight here, you can kind of, well, even if you use a smaller bottle, add your dye and then press at the same time. You can press on it, add some dye. When you lift up, that's just going to soak that dye down inside. So that's one way to try to minimize the puddling, but the rest of it is just going to be a matter of practice. It just takes time to generate, the skill for how fast you add it, and every different type of fabric, the dye soaks in at a different rate. So you might get practiced up on t-shirts, and then you switch over and you do a tapestry, and you just have to practice. Practice, practice, practice. That's what it takes with tie-dye.
And in conjunction with that, somebody else is commenting that you used to have sun bottles with the cone-shaped tip.
Oh, yeah, the cone-shaped tips. I have two other styles of bottles that I have bought in the past. These ones here and these ones here. These are both from Dharma. And these ones here, I've had a little bit of leaking issues with both of them. The cone-shaped ones, I usually will wrap a little bit of the Teflon tape around there to cut down on the leaking. And I think I did the same thing on these ones here. But those are both available from Dharma. If you just search for metal tip bottles on Dharma's site. In fact, I might even be able to do that real quick. Okay. Yeah, so the cone-shaped ones, those are called Gouda bottles, and then the others are long stem applicators. So I will put a link into the chat box for those other bottles. And those ones, you just buy them directly from Dharma. And like I say, those I've used those for years also, and they do work good. I've used these ones here for a year and a half, and I've had no leaks at all with them. The other ones I've used for many years, and I have had just a couple little leaks, but like I say, I've been using them for many years. So it could be just wear and tear on them. Can I roll a mandala instead of folding one? That part I don't know. Yeah, I suppose if you rolled it up, well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I would have to get more information about. I don't know about a rolled mandala. I haven't heard of that. So maybe if you can send me a message with more information on that. How can I keep extra dye that I didn't use? Seems to waste a lot. If you're using Procyon dyes, after you mix them up into the bottles, they will last at room temperature for 2 to 3 weeks. After that, the dyes aren't bad, but they will produce a lighter and lighter color. I usually will write dates. I put duct tape on here so I can write a date on there, and I can change that every time I mix new dye. But if you happen to have a fridge, which I just happened to get from my mother a week ago, the dye will last much longer. I don't know how much longer, but I've heard that it will last for a couple months. But if you're using something like tulip dyes, those ones, the dye powder comes already in the bottle. Well, I believe the soda ash is already mixed in to the dye bottle also. So as soon as you add water, that dye becomes active, and it should be used within a few hours for the best results. So the tulip dyes, the best thing to do is just get a whole bunch of stuff tied up and then use all of the dye that you mix. But tie up all of your stuff first. But if you're using just the regular Procyon dyes from Dharma or from Custom Colors or Grateful Dyes or Procam or Jacquard, any of the Procyon dyes with just the powder, you can mix them up. They last 2 to 3 weeks, even longer in the fridge. So I hope that answered your question there. Let's see. Sounds like we got a leaf blower out there. Also about puddling, should I also thicken the dye in the smaller dye bottles? It depends on what you're going for. When I'm doing outlining, if I've made an image like for my peace sign, I will thicken my black dye and put it in one of these little dye bottles. But in order to get it to soak in, I will apply a line, and then I use my cuticle pusher and I press that in, because since it's thicker dye, it doesn't spread as far. It doesn't soak in as far, but it doesn't spread out. So the only time that I thicken my dyes is if I want a skinny line, but you have to take extra steps then to get that dye to soak in if you have several layers of fabric. And I do have a couple videos on making the thick water to make the thick dye. So you can just look up thick water or thick dye on my channel, and there will be 2 different videos. One is a product from Dharma and one is a product from Amazon. I've used them both. I prefer the one from Dharma, but they both work great for thickening dye. But yeah, I don't recommend thickening dye for general use. Maybe just a tiny bit if you want, but if you thicken it too much, it's not going to spread, and then you're going to run into saturation issues. So I think that's about all I have to say about thickening dye. Okay. Let me see. There's one more question in here. If you can fold a peace sign, can you do a Volkswagen sign the same way? They're similar. Actually, they're not similar enough. I haven't folded a VW sign and dyed it all in one session. I folded it in 2 sessions where I folded, I think, the circle and then the 2 V shapes on there. I dyed it, washed it, and then I tied it up again, and I folded the 2 outer edges of the line for the W. The other way that I have heard, but I haven't done it, I've heard people say that you can fold the VW symbol by folding the inner spaces, the stuff that's not the VW, And so let me see here. So what they're saying for your VW, I drew this a little bit funky here, but they're saying to fold up these spaces here instead of folding the lines. I haven't actually done it myself, but that's what I have. The only other way that I've done a VW is I've stitched it. So it's not similar enough to do it the same way as a peace sign. The peace sign, I'm able to line my lines up, and the lines that I'm folding then, they all are part of the peace sign. Okay. Okay, Mom, thank you for coming in. We'll see you later. Let's see. I want to do a Charlie Brown baby vest. Yeah, Charlie Brown. I've done that symbol before. It's just a matter of on your t-shirt, just folding your lines back and forth. Of course, the corners are the toughest thing, but I usually will just pleat that back and forth until you get all the way across the t-shirt, and you just have to get those corners down. So yeah, a Charlie Brown t-shirt, that one's fun. And I could even put that on my list if somebody wants to see a video on that. Okay, I think we've run out of questions. I'm going to scroll back. I don't see any other questions here, and I don't see any new ones.
I got nothing.
Nope, Julie's got nothing. Okay, well, thank you for joining me for this edition of Wednesdays with Mr. Tie-Dye, although it's turning into meditation creations, because that's where most of my ideas come from. I get the images in my head of a tapestry to make, and that's what I do. So hopefully you guys are still liking these. I guess that's going to be evident if you guys stop showing up. That means that you're not liking the format anymore, but I think I'm going to switch over and start doing just a tie-dye tapestry, whatever idea has come to me. I might still do some requests, so you guys can keep those coming, but I will be making other videos. Most of the other videos that I'm doing, some of the requests, the more detailed ones, I like to do those where I can record them and make changes if needed. The live videos, I need to be able to sit and fold the whole thing straight out, and sometimes that's not easy if I have to stop and think about something. Anyways, I will keep on making tapestries and keep coming on Wednesdays as long as I feel guided to, and as long as you guys show up. I'll probably go ahead and nix the auctions. So today will probably be the last day of auctions. And once again, congratulations to Chelsea for winning this one. So just send me an email and I'll get you an invoice out that you can pay on Friday. Everybody else, you guys have a wonderful 11/11. Wish all your veterans happy Veterans Day. And 11/11 is one of those angel numbers, so maybe sit and meditate and send out some peace, love, and light to the world, because we definitely need that right now. And I think that's it. You guys have a wonderful week. I'm stretching my arms out to give you guys a great big hug. So you guys have a wonderful week. Peace, love, light, laughter, and I'll see you guys on Friday for my Hippie Christmas reveal video. And after that, who knows? Well, I should have a video out on Monday, and we'll go from there. You guys have a great week. Thank you for joining me. Peace.